Hey Explorers, welcome back to the Microsoft AI Advent Calendar, the Winter Party Exploration Series. I'm Wesley Camargo, and today it's the day number 22 of our journey, so let's check what we are learning today. So, ta-da-da-ta-da, how to configure Azure AI services on virtual networks. Okay, so what's the point of this? So basically when we are working for a company, you have your own network on Azure, and you don't want to expose your cloud resources to the internet. So it's wise to deploy this in your network and then block the access from external people. So, for example, you can prevent attack from somebody trying to put your service down. Okay. So here we are gonna deploy the Microsoft Azure OpenAI in one Azure network that I will show you how we are gonna do that with Bicep. And then we will also create an entity called Private Endpoint. A private endpoint, it's a very nice resource on Azure where you basically create a network interface card from your resource, in our case, the Azure OpenAI, but it could be a storage account, for example, a SQL database, and many other resources. It creates a network interface card for these resources inside your network. So you can specify a dedicated subnet, for example, and then you link all these Azure resources through your vNet via NIC. So it will become very simple to consume, and then you avoid going to the internet when you need to communicate with these resources. Okay, so let's check how we can do that. Basically, here we have our repo. So this code is available on the GitHub on the same project as the other parts of the series of videos. And here we are on the branch day 22. We are using the same bicep file, the main one, and here I created a couple of new resources. So basically a virtual network with subnet, of course. In our case, I'm using just one subnet, but you can have more than one and dedicate a specific subnet for the private endpoints. Here, to create the private endpoint, I also want to have a DNS resolution. So for this, I'm creating a private DNS zone where I have the module also here. So basically we created a private DNS zone and a private DNS zone link. Okay. For the virtual network, we also have a dedicated module for that. And we are also creating a network security group. This is not mandatory, but recommended. And if you are creating virtual machines now, you don't have more public access enabled by default. So you need to allow this by adding this rule. This is why I added it here. Okay. We also have the private endpoint itself. So here we need to inform what's the subnet that we are going to deploy, what's the private DNS zone that we are going to use, location, the name, and the service that we want to link with this private endpoint. It doesn't work only with cognitive services, but like I said, storage accounts and other resources available in Azure. And then here we have a VM being created just to demonstrate to you how we can do that. Okay. So once we run the pipeline, what happens? Let's return here to the Azure portal. So here I'm on my OpenAI instance. On the left panel, we have networking under resource management. And then here we can see that we have a few resources already configured. When you create without the private endpoint, you don't have anything configured by default. But when you create the private endpoint, you can see here that it enables a sort of firewall for you, okay? And you can also link this with the virtual network. So this is exactly the link that I mentioned with the subnet. So here, if I go into the default subnet and look into the connected devices, actually on the vNet, I can see that I have this resource with a random name, but pay attention that we have the private endpoint 010 and then a GUID. So this is the interface card that was created when I created the private endpoint. So returning here, we can also add a exception on the firewall. So for example, I want to add my IP, or I want to add a specific IP range. So this range is able to access my OpenAI instance, but for now I don't want to add anything. So I will discard these changes. Now I want to show you how it looks like when you try to use it. So let's ask something, for example, how many reindeers does Santa Claus has? Oh, sorry for bad English. So then here we see that we have our access denied because we have a virtual network firewall preventing us to access the models, okay? But how can we use them in this case then? So our resources needs that will consume this or needs to have the firewall rules enabled, or they need to be deployed on the same virtual network or in a virtual network that has access to the network where the OpenAI instance is deployed on. So here I have already a virtual machine deployed there. Close this. So, wrong question. Let me take the instance. And then here, we can open our Azure OpenAI Studio. And on the chat, we can do the same question. So, how many reindeer does Santa Claus have? And then we can ask it, and then we can see that we are able to access the model exactly from the same URL that we tried from my machine, which is not deployed on that vNet, but the virtual machine I have deployed in Azure, it is. So we can see that it's working. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you a very nice Christmas and end of the year, and see you on the next videos.